Hey you guys, it's your girl Josh coming back to you from Real Takes. Today I'll be doing a review to Black Lightning episode 13, which is the season finale titled Shadow of Death, the Book of War. It's here, you guys, the finale. It's all done. Season 1 is done. It's over. Let's just say that this first season was great. This episode was great the way we ended it on a note that basically sets the tone for the things that happened, of course, in this one for the upcoming season 2. I was excited a couple of episodes back when it was told to all of us fans that they got renewed for season 2. So I'm so excited to know that it's not over. We're going to, of course, continue the story with the Pierce family. Now, speaking of the Pierce family, if you all recall from the last episode, of course, at first, Jefferson had, aka Black Lightning had, kind of bested Tobias, but of course, him having his new, what's you gonna say, basically his muscle known as Khalil. Now in the picture, he was able to get an upper hand on him and cause a situation where, of course, with his blunt force, it kind of took him out of commission. Of course, Thunder showing up, and then his daughter Jennifer being able to basically like a kind of like a power jump to kind of get him started. Even though they weren't fully able to do so, they took him to Gambi's safe house location where they could be cloaked, so they're not found right away by Martin from the ASA. Now that's kind of how it ended. Starting into this actual episode, the finale episode, of course, you see him at the safe house, and they're basically using this time as a slowdown period to kind of reassess what they're going to do with, they have to deal with the situation, because right now Lynn is trying to basically figure out how to deal with the situation with Jefferson, getting him to wake up. Now, the beginning of the episode, of course, from there shows him having, he's, of course, down for the count, and he's having these flashbacks. We finally get to see flashbacks of his life 30 years prior with his father. And, of course, it shows his father, bonding with his son. And, of course, we get introduced to him, of course, meeting with Gambi, when we find out from what he told Jefferson when it was finally exposed, and he had to tell him how his father had gotten involved with him coming to him, giving him the information about what the ASA was doing. But, of course, from what you learned from the flashbacks is that he gave information with names. And with that comes the element of you've put yourself in danger, anyone else around you, but more so himself, and maybe if his child, if being used as a precaution to get to him, to get him to stop as a threat. And from there, he's trying to shut this down. His newspaper was trying to stop it, whichever and all, but assuming he went forward with it. And you all know what happened. We saw the flashbacks, of course, Jefferson hiding up under the bed. They could not see, unbeknownst to them, that his father was being killed before his eyes, and of course he saw the person at the helm, which was Tobias Will's character. Now from there, of course, you see the scenes with you kind of see Anissa. She wants to go out there, she wants to do it with her, she thinks she can handle it, but of course, as you all remember in a couple episodes, her father trying to train her, can't go out there hot-headed. He has his moments, but he's more clear level-headed. He's dealt with so many situations, he knows how to handle it better. Her, on the other hand, she's ready to jump out there, but Gambi kind of lets her know, no, use this time, let's strategize better, don't just jump out there. Plus, we need you here. You are, the heavy lifting that he would need if something was to go down. Granted, Gambi's smart too. Jennifer is not so much. She's scared. Her mother's scared. She's concerned with her father, as well as Lynn being with her ex-husband. Now, I love the discussion that they had together, Gambi and Jennifer, him giving her the breakdown about who Tobias is, understanding who Cyanide is, and of course understanding what's going on with Khalil. I like how we got to know more about Cyanide, and I will tell you this: when I saw the scene where she was fighting with Thunder on episode 12, and she got torn, a rip, and I saw her skin, I'm gonna tell you like this, I might add a picture in here of what I thought that was. It just jumped in my mind. I know a lot of people are like, okay, once he described it, okay, we understand. But when you see it at the moment of that episode, it reminded me of a TV show. I'm going to post a picture of the TV show I'm talking about, and you all understand what I mean by that. That's what I was going with. But, of course, I like that he basically gave an understanding, because I know I'm not the only one who was thinking, what is up with her? What's up with that skin of her? What's up under her skin, really? And I like how she understands the situation with why Cyanide is the way she is, and kind of trying to understand what's going on with Khalil. Now, I had a discussion with a friend at work about, because he reads the comics, and we were talking about understanding if Khalil is any ounce of anything in him, and he basically just told me, he didn't go into any detail, but he was just like, oh no, it's done. he's on the bad side. It's no way to come back from that. So I'm just like, oh shoot. So I'm hoping they might change it, but they might try to stay true to some of the comic, whatever. So he might not be able to go back to the good side. And I doubt it now because he came for her daddy, and Jennifer loves her father. So I think there's no way to change his mind, whichever. So I doubt that seriously. But I love the other scenes throughout the episode where we got to see, of course, more interaction with Martin's character. I mean, he's a sleaze. The comments he said towards the ending of the episode were just so raw. They really went there. There's a scene where he makes a comment and he uses I'll just use the acronym MAGA. You all should know what that is. And I was just not here for it. But it is what it is. He is exactly how the character was, especially when we first were introduced to him in the scene where him and Gambit were both in their cars and they were having a conversation, and he just let it be known how he felt about the people of Freeland. So we already know, where his, overall loyalty lies and what he doesn't care about, and the individuals and people he doesn't care about. The Freeland characters being of the Black community. He basically let it be known. If you heard some of the things he said when the Pierce family confronted him, it's just like, yeah, there was no turning back. That man, there's no redeeming nothing in him to stop him from doing what he wanted. He had an agenda. He's following it through. Now, speaking of agendas, of course, Tobias, not to say down for the count, but he's really trying to get rid of Martin. He now knows Lady Eve's out of the picture, of course, and he, of course, brings back Lala. Now, of course, Lala is, of course, blindfold, cloaked out, whichever and all that. And he tries his best Tobias, but of course he gets a good jolt in him, and of course he makes a comment. He hits like a bleep, and that's when he uses that little, statement, and it stops him in his tracks. So he has control over him. And of course, I love the comments that Tobias makes about his, his velour tracksuit, hilarious, whichever. And you can just see how Sinai's just like, yeah, he's controlling him. And of course, you can kind of see the look on Khalil's face like, yeah, there's no way out of this. But if you even try to get out of this, look what's happening to Lala. I saw the potential, what they could have done, even though I didn't care for Lala when they brought him back. And then to know he was considered like the tattoo man, whatever. He makes a statement talking about LaWanda and Will. And when Tobias basically clears that up, there is no going back. Now, I will say this. I thought that we would see him going into season 2, but the way that his character's death happened, that's not going to happen. I'm kind of upset about that because I really want to see if they were going to, evolve that a little bit more, him talking about all the deaths he would have had. But clearly when Tobias made that statement, I don't know why, because you didn't use him to, have all the other deaths that he did to be, showcased on his body for us to see. So now we will never see that because he is now dead. He literally blew himself up for them to, of course, trigger a situation where Martin would have been killed in that particular situation, and Tobias would have been done. But of course, Tobias, shows up at the facility when all this stuff happens, where now Martin's company is able to find out there's a certain situation where his guys are looking. It's like there's a certain area that we can't seem to see. And he's like, that's exactly where Gammy is at. He knows Gammy. He knows Gammy. He knows Gammy knows certain things. And of course, they go out to the safe house. And by then, of course, Jefferson is waking up. Lynn is so happy. Before that, she had a moment where she wants him to come back to her. She felt a darkness, a core in her that was empty, and she knew something must have happened to him. That's when she's like, come back to me, come back to our family. And it shows him waking up, but of course he realizes he doesn't have his powers anymore. So from there, he's like, I'm putting a suit on. We're going to go out there. And his daughter, Jennifer, is just freaking out for her father. Like, what are you going to do? You're protected from that, from being bulletproof, but what about your head, whatever? And she starts to have a moment where she, I think, realizes, I need to use my powers. So from there, she just, let's just say she just went straight pyro, literally, and use that to basically, just jumpstart, him up and juice him up, literally, basically. And it worked. And he's just like, you're going to keep coming to my rescue. Save me. And she's like, that's what we do. I love that scene. I just love the Pierce family dynamic. It's just awesome. I look forward to it, and I find it's refreshing. That's the core, really, of the show. And then, of course, we have all the other elements of the storyline, which I love. So I just love that. So basically, they go out there, of course, Anissa, a.k.a. Thunder's ready to roll. And she has a moment where they're getting upper hand, but then they use one of their particular type of guns where it shields her from being able to use her powers. And, of course, Gammy's aware and all that. He sends, of course, Jefferson to hurt and finish what he has to do on top of the roof to come down, help. I love the scene of Lynn wanting the shotgun. and she, because I did do a double take, but she had to clear it up. Her daddy, she learned to hunt, because we were wondering, like, okay, you really knew to use a gun, because I get the vibe of her being very prissy, so I wasn't expecting that. So that was nice to see. And she held her own. There's a scene where Jennifer holds her own to protect her mom, and then one of the guys were going to come in through the back way, and that was a nice scene too. And then just still getting upper hand to the point where once Tobias and Cyanide and Khalil show up trying to get into the building, the facility to, get, Proctor, he went through a safe room to get out, whatever his getaway. But then, of course, he thought he got away. He goes to the area where they're keeping all of, the metahumans, locked up in their little chronological freezers. And he has, the Pierce family waiting for him. And that's when I stated about all the comments, the ignorant, the bigotry coming out of that man's mouth. And the scene where Jennifer basically wraps him or cloaks him around and throws him in there and all that. That was funny, because you can tell she's picking up her powers. She's a quick learner, real quick, with, Anissa, even though she learned and she trained trying to figure it out, whichever and all. But then her father, she's getting better and handsome. But Jennifer, it's just coming like that. So hopefully next season we'll see her train with her dad, whatever, to, of course, hone her her abilities, and of course learning how to deal with that pressure point. Like, don't let things get too make you too upset. You gotta maintain composure at all times, because with hers, she flares up very quickly. At least Anissa knows how to engage hers. Same thing with her dad, whatever. Even when he's dealt with the strip down, the hit in the stomach by the police department, all that, he was able to contain himself. But with that girl, it's just like, she's ready to go. So hopefully we'll see that, transpire going to season 2. But overall, this season was good. Of course, one last part, when they confront him, Gamby decides to do it. He's like, yeah, I'm a bad guy. Let me just handle this trash. And he takes him out. Tobias gets a hold of the briefcase because, of course, for some reason, Proctor could not shoot it off of the guy's hand. Don't know why he had it attached, but, it is what it is. That's the part to keep the story going. He gets the fingers. Now, this is the part I had a problem with. How is it that you deal with the trash, not realizing Tobias is still out there? You leave it wherever you put it, mortuary, whatever, that they wouldn't find it. Cut the fingers off. I don't know if it's the fingers of it might have been the guy with that was killed, so I could be wrong. It might not be Proctor. It could be the guy who was actually so I'm thinking that's probably what it was. It might not have been Proctor, but I think his finger probably was useful too. So it could have been his and the guy that got shot that was down for the count. So let me clear that up, because I was about to be mad thinking it was just Proctor, and then they got his fingers and used that to open up the briefcase. But yeah, now it looks like Tobias now feels very confident. He's the king. And now he's ready to rid Freeland of lightning so he can get back to business. So we're looking forward to a good foundation set, ready to go. One thing I am looking forward to seeing, besides, of course, those scenes where, of course, it's unfinished business between the two, I want to see if Jennifer's going to become conflicted with, wanting to work against her parents, or her, to help Khalil feel like there's maybe a glimmer. I really feel like they might go there with her, because you saw the scene where Gamby left her alone to kind of reflect, and she's sitting there thinking, I don't know. We'll have to see how that pans out. She might start still feeling like she has feelings or whatever. She was not around technically when he did what he did to her father. It caused him to be knocked out on the ground, and they almost revealed his actual identity. So we'll have to see how that goes. But overall, besides that, a little bit more about Gamby's life. Is there anybody from his past that might show up to Freeland looking for him? Something like that I'd like to see next season. Also, the thoughts of Anissa, aka Thunder, rekindling that friendship with the girl she met at the I think the library or bookstore. I'm kind of curious to see how that is. She did make that phone call that time that we saw on one of the episodes, reaching out to see if they wanted to hang out, for a date or a drink or whatever. I can't recall exactly what she said, but that would be nice to see how that, goes and turns into something, because like her Lynn said, you gotta have a life. Even though you're all about Freeland, still try to have a life. Jennifer's, I think, is going to try her best to be there for her family, use her powers, but I think she really still wants to have a life. We know that clearly she wants that. She feels she's very glad, I think, honestly, that she was able to help her father having his powers. She wouldn't want to lose any of her family members. So I think that's what's going to open her up to being more accepting of her powers, and knowing that things, something happens with my family, or say Gamby or anybody that's closest to them, she's going to be there to help them and be that anchor. So I'm looking forward to that, of course. And yeah, learning, who knows, Khalil, seeing if something happens with him, reaching out to his mother, just a little bit more dynamic. And also Kara, the vice principal. We didn't get anything from that. What's going to happen with that? Because she was working for him, for Proctor, for ASA. I want to know what's going to happen to that because I don't know if she's going to come into the fold with Tobias. Will they keep using her? Will she tell Tobias if, even though she thought it was a fluke when they showed the hologram, what he thought at the time, whatever, you never know. It's a possibility, it's so many layers of things they could possibly do and other things they can introduce with those metahumans for the new season. So I'm excited. So you know what, guys, again, this was a great full season. I look forward to getting this on DVD when it comes out, and I'll most definitely probably do definitely maybe marathon like a week or 2 weeks before the show starts back up for season. I'll probably do like maybe 2 or 3 weeks before, so I can just go ahead and watch it 2 weeks back to back, whatever, and just knock it out just to refresh my memory so I don't forget anything, so I can be ready for the show. Comment below, you guys. Let me know which parts of this episode, how you felt about the whole season collectively, and going forward, what you might be looking forward to seeing. Again, it was just nice to see a good show like this and in a nice family dynamic. How real they're trying to be with certain instances, like I said, some of the things that Martin said, some other things that happened. Things happen within the police department, seeing how some people are reliving, certain people doing this and that and all that, and just day-to-day life, stuff that you see on the TV, on the news, whatever. They kept it very real, very raw at times, and that's refreshing because a lot of the stuff that we see on there does not reflect that, and it's nice, to see that, and done really well. The husband and wife producers, they were awesome. I think I told you guys when I did the first couple of my reviews how I saw them at a DC con that we had back here in January. I got to meet Cress Williams. Most of the cast went to a nice little after con type of dinner over at the National Museum of African American History, which was awesome. They did down here. We met some of the other different casts of other different CW shows, so it was just nice to see them and see the producers talking to a lot of the cast members, and then discussing, a predominantly black cast, whatever. It was just nice to just see it, and it was just a nice turnout. It was packed. We all enjoyed it. We got to see the first episode. It was just great to start the show off. That's why I was so excited to watch this show when it came on TV in January. We got to see this con that Saturday, and the first episode of this season came on that Tuesday. So we got a first sneak peek. So it was just great. So, and then here we are now, the end of the first season, and looking forward to the second one. So you know what, I've rambled on enough. I enjoyed this review for this one. I'm looking forward to the new one, and you know what I always say, you guys. With that said, I will see you in the next reaction. You guys take care.